Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas, little boys and girls, and welcome to another incredibly special Christmas episode right here on the Leftover Culture Review, and welcome to the middle of an Australian summer. I mean, it's probably my least favourite part about Christmas, but there's plenty of things to enjoy in December, like avoiding friends and family, absolutely flogging nieces and nephews at video games you've been playing for the last 20 or 30 years and have had a hell of a lot of practice at, and eggnog, I guess. Maybe not. At Woolies and Coles here in Australia, mini rant, but the eggnog is basically 0.5% egg powder. So it should just really be called Christmas style milk drink. But yeah, we always find plenty of ways to stay cool, partly by reviewing the coolest video games out there. And I have got an absolute treat, which you know exactly what it is because you read the title. You guys are smart, you guys are switched on, you guys are one step ahead of me. But I think this is the first Nintendo 64 game I've ever reviewed here on the channel. So I'm really excited to dive in to South Park, which is basically set exclusively in the snow. So put your beanies on. I actually don't own one, but you guys put your beanies on. Don't bother asking for your parents' permission. Let's dive in to South Park on the Nintendo 64. Cheers, guys.
Ho, 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 Bruiser. I've been expecting you. I am your biggest fan, and I have a special message just for you. The art you made on a Sega Mega Drive is incredibly impressive. I got Mrs. Claus a dead rat wall clock. Every year you bring so much Christmas cheer, making Christmas cards viewers can download and send to their friends and family. Ho, ho, ho. And reviewing the best Christmas video games. I'm sure all those links will surely be in the description below. The elves and I, we just want to say thanks. You're a top bloke.
So dudes, before we dive in, generic warning, this game is full of pretty mature content, and I turned 18 very recently, back in 2007, so I am absolutely qualified to play this game now, even if mum doesn't think I'm particularly mature. But if you're not prepared to see some turkey butts, just before you turn it off, leave a like, leave a comment, make sure you share it with all your friends and family, and then turn off the video because this game is not for you.
That turkey didn't know who he was messing with. Hey, you guys, Carter's eating the turkey butt. I'm not eating turkey butt! You son of a bitch, I'll kick you in the nuts!
For fans of the cartoons, there's a few characters that do make an appearance here, and you get the chance to fight through the towns and mountains around South Park. By the time this game came out in 1998 in America, the show was only in its second season, so it was pretty early days. But I do feel like Iguana Entertainment did a pretty decent job bringing the cartoon into 3D. Especially here on the Nintendo 64, where the game premiered before being ported to the PC and the PlayStation. And if the name Iguana rings a bell, that's because they're the guys responsible for bringing Turok to the 64. So they weren't fresh, they weren't new at developing games for a 64 as well as developing first-person shooters. South Park is actually built using the Turok 2 engine, but it's pretty basic. This game doesn't do a whole lot of very interesting things, but what does really shine for me are the cutscenes. They did a fantastic job bringing the original voice cast over to voice the cutscenes and really bring this game to life.
Hi, Chef!
Hello, children.
Please tell me this comic crap is finally over.
It's all going to come to a head tonight, children. The comet is near South Park.
Oh, great, so now what? We're gonna have to fight Killer Toy?
Yes.
Wow, good guess, dude.
The story fits so well into like the types of stories that South Park are known for. It's basic, it's absolutely ridiculous, but it does really help drive the single player campaign.
And then Eric destroyed the king toy, saving all toys from evil. Eric is so strong and brave. He is so cute. Gee, that's cute. That's nice. Shut up, Teddy, you dildo. I'm a hero.
I love getting to see the town, and I'm going to be super honest, I really like these early 3D games. There's just something about the aesthetic of these games, from the Atari Jaguar, the PlayStation, the Saturn, and the 64. The first wave of consoles bringing 3D home to gamers, and South Park suits these really big boxy graphics with simple textures. So as much as I love the graphics, definitely strap yourselves in for a super repetitive ride, because you'll be traversing like massive stages filled with a whole lot of nothing. Like, this game is super sparse. And you'll be fighting the same enemies over and over and over again. So as much as I love the graphics, and I think they did a really good job bringing them to the 64, these levels are massive and really repetitive, and the whole game just feels super sparse. Like, the towns are really cool to explore, but there's no benefit to exploring. You're not going to find hidden areas, and for the most part, this game has you going through like caves and wilderness, and it's just a very open, bland, expansive kind of level design, and you are fighting the same enemies over and over and over again. In every level you only get a couple of different enemies to fight. So in the first level you just face a whole bunch of turkeys. That's the only enemy that you're gonna see. And like, I don't think a first-person shooter has to be complicated to be fun, and I think Doom and Wolfenstein 3D are fantastic examples of that. Like, they are simple, but they are incredibly satisfying. Going through the levels, finding different enemies, working out different strategies, and just navigating and understanding how best to tackle each stage. Whereas in this game, it is open but incredibly linear. And for a game like South Park, you'd expect to see a whole host of characters here in the single player mode, but you don't get that chance. But like, just when I play Doom or Wolfenstein 3D, I've got cheats on, so don't be too disappointed in me. But I didn't feel like torturing myself, and I don't think that you should either. Use the cheats. Go easy on yourself. It's Christmas. You deserve it. And the game itself isn't super long, so getting access to a few of the fun weapons early on, like, I don't feel bad about that. It definitely kept me a little bit more interested, especially because, like I said, you'll be going up against a lot of the same enemies over and over again. And this game's broken up into a few different episodes, and in each episode you face a different series of enemies. You've got your basic enemies, but you've also got these guys called tanks. Tanks spawn the regular enemies, so you've got to take out the tanks to stop the flow of, creatures coming to crush you. But when you get the tanks down to low health, they'll make a dash to the start of the level, and if they make it back, you get penalized in a bonus round where you get to take out the tanks all over again as they destroy the town.
How's it going, Dad?
So yeah, like I said, this game is incredibly sparse, but there's a whole lot of snow. So if you are chasing those cool thoughts, South Park could be a really good option. If you're a fan of the show, South Park might be a really good option. And they did try and do a few cool things by having, like, every weapon has got a secondary fire mode. So these snowballs, for example, you can actually coat them in your Wii and it gives you like a super shot with splash damage. And every weapon, well, most of the weapons do have a secondary fire mode. So that also keeps it a little bit interesting, but it's a real shame that they weren't able to include a few more of those characters or a few more of those sort of challenges that the boys face as enemies. One thing I did really appreciate though were the bosses. They had some incredibly massive enemies for you to take out, and a really good chance to try out all those different weapons and work out what combinations worked against each different boss. So where this game absolutely shines is in the multiplayer mode. It supports up to 4 people locally on a Nintendo 64, but you get a chance to try out a whole host of characters that you unlock during the single player mode, or if you use cheats, you unlock them straight away. You get to check out the weapons, you get to check out a whole bunch of different stages. It's just a whole lot more fun, it's a lot more immediate, and it's the way this game should be played. Especially if it's Christmas and you've got a few young kids over and you want to corrupt them with something like South Park, or if they're just fans of the series, because I guess here in 2022 it might not be considered as controversial, especially a game on a Nintendo 64. Like, I can't imagine how much censoring had to happen. But multiplayer mode, it's where it's at. It's why this game is worth reviewing today, and it's why I wanted to share it with you. So there you have it, another game packed full of winter stages. Like I said right at the top, I really love this time of year, and I'm always looking for a few different games that'll get me into that holiday spirit. And South Park is just packed full of snow. There's even in the toy store a whole bunch of Christmas decorations as you go up towards that stage. So it does bring winter home, especially for an Australian living through the summer. Worth checking out with friends, worth checking out if you're a fan of the series. And if you do love yourself some winter stages, then definitely check out some of the other videos right here on the channel. I've spent a lot of time talking about video games that I like to bust out around Christmas, and I love sharing them with you guys as well. So thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for spending your time here with me on the Leftover Culture Review. I really do appreciate it, and I really do hope that you guys stay safe this Christmas period, stay safe, and stick with me into 2023. I'd love to have you guys back. Can't wait to hear what everyone gets for Christmas and what's waiting under your tree, because I've got something that I'm really excited about checking out next year. I just have to wait to unwrap it. Cheers, guys, and I will see you on the flip side. Thank you so much for tuning in. Cheers.